All right, today we are diving deep into the Great Nicobar Development Project. It's an incredibly ambitious and, let's be honest, controversial plan. This is a perfect case study if you're interested in that classic tug-of-war between infrastructure, the environment, and policy, which, if you're preparing for your civil service exams, you definitely are.
So take a look. This is Great Nicobar Island. It's a place of absolutely stunning biodiversity, really pristine nature, but it's also ground zero for a massive debate. The big question is, can you take this untouched paradise and turn it into a global economic hub without, destroying everything that makes it so special in the first place? And really, that's the question at the heart of it all. What does it actually take to pull this off? To figure that out, we've got to understand the vision, the price tag, and all the controversies swirling around it. So let's get right into it. Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the new vision for the island. Then we'll get into the project's core components. After that, we'll tackle the controversy, the land, the people. Then we'll look at the 4-phase roadmap. And finally, we'll wrap up with the key takeaways for your analysis. First things first, let's just try to get our heads around the sheer scale of what's being proposed here. This isn't just another infrastructure project. We're talking about a complete and total transformation of the island. The project comes with a pretty staggering price tag, 92,000 crore rupees. A number that big tells you one thing loud and clear. This is a major national priority. The plan also envisions a mind-boggling demographic shift. The goal is to boost the population to over 330,000 people by 2055. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the current population is only about 8,000. So yeah, that means a massive wave of migration and new settlements. So what's going to power this new city economically? Well, the master plan is betting big on tourism. And when I say big, I mean they're aiming to bring in over 1 million visitors every single year. So what exactly needs to be built to turn this grand vision into a reality? Let's take a closer look at the project's core components. The whole thing really rests on 4 interconnected pillars. You've got a massive port for global trade, an international airport for connectivity, power plants to keep the lights on, and of course, a whole new township to house everybody. Each piece is designed to support the others, creating what they hope will be a self-sustaining economic zone. And the tourism strategy isn't just one note, it's incredibly diverse. They're planning way beyond just nice beaches. The vision includes everything from wellness retreats and adventure sports to big business conferences and even theme parks. The goal here is pretty clear: create a multifaceted global destination that has something for everyone. But look, a project of this size never happens without a cost. And this is where the controversy really heats up, raising some deep environmental and social questions that are absolutely critical for any balanced analysis. At the very heart of the environmental concerns is this number. Over 120 square kilometers of forest land is slated to be diverted. And we're not talking about just any forest. This is part of a UNESCO-designated biosphere reserve. That means it's a site of global ecological importance. Then you have the human cost. The local Nicobarese tribes, who had apparently given their consent at first, have now taken it back. They're alleging that their historical forest rights haven't been properly settled, and that move has pushed this whole conflict into a legal battle. And if you dig a little deeper, you find a major point of contention. There seem to be conflicting official documents. On one side, the master plan hints at development within the existing tribal areas. But then there's another draft plan that proposes relocating the tribes entirely. You can imagine how this lack of clarity becomes a huge source of mistrust and concern. So with all these serious concerns on the table, the project's clearances are now under judicial review. The Calcutta High Court is hearing the case, which basically means the entire future of this development is hanging in the legal balance right now. So how exactly do you plan to roll out a project this massive? Let's take a look at the actual timeline for this transformation. The plan is structured in 4 distinct phases, stretching out over the next couple of decades. It all starts with the heavy lifting, building the port, the airport, the power plants. After that, the focus shifts to building up the tourism infrastructure. What's really interesting is that the final phase is kind of vague, just earmarked for future development, which leaves some long-term questions on the table. Okay, let's wrap this up by distilling everything down to the key analytical themes you'll need. If you're studying this for your exam, these are the core issues you really need to focus on. At its heart, the Great Nicobar Project is really a story of competing values. So when you analyze it, I want you to frame your arguments around these key tensions.
economic growth versus the environmental cost, national strategic interests versus indigenous forest rights, and of course, centralized top-down planning versus local community consent. Ultimately, this project isn't just about one island. It's a critical, real-world test case, and it forces us to grapple with a fundamental question. How does a nation balance that powerful drive for development with its profound responsibilities, both to nature and to its own people? That's the big question this project leaves us with.